Welcome back to the Who We Needed podcast by me, Harrison Davis. And I'm saying welcome back, but it might just be a welcome to quite a few of you because since I last posted a podcast episode, there's been quite a few new faces on TikTok and Instagram. And I know that some of you may never even known that I had a podcast before. And this episode is just me explaining all of that, I guess, because I never really gave it everything I wanted to, and this is something I've wanted to do for years. Since I started social media, my one main goal, I guess, the North Star I was working for was having a podcast. But for some reason, I didn't give it everything I had, but I'm going to. I'm going to try to now. I want to introduce myself, I want to introduce the podcast, and then talk a little bit about some of the lessons I've learned in the last few months since I left the podcast alone, because I think they relate to a lot of the things we have in our lives. So firstly, if you're listening to this randomly, you came across this podcast without knowing who I am, I'm Harrison Davis. I talk a lot about my mental health, about my feelings, the things I'm going through. And I guess that's where most people know me from. I used to play football for Southampton Football Club. I used to work at a golf club. I enjoy skating, cycling, running mostly. And yeah, I guess my goal, or what I think is my purpose, is to share some lessons that I learn, lessons that other people teach me, perspectives I can find, and show people that things do get better. Because I started this whole journey when I went through a tough time, the lowest point in my life. And I think talking about my mental health online became a bit of a journal for me. And it allowed me to share exactly what I said, lessons, perspectives on what I was going through, I guess. So, why is this the Who We Needed podcast? This is the Who We Needed podcast because when I started to heal, when I started to feel a little bit more like myself, I read a quote that said, maybe we become the person that we needed to save us. And I think that is so true to every single phase of our lives. If I look at my life, I think right now, if I was to come across someone that was in the situation that I was in, going through the things I was going through, thinking the thoughts that I was thinking, I would be able to help them. I'd be able to tell them exactly what I felt, how I got through it. I'd be able to tell them how it would go, and I'd be able to help them. So that is why this is called the Who We Needed podcast, because I want to share lessons that I am learning that would have helped myself. I want to talk to guests about things that they needed to learn in order to help the younger version of them. And of course, in that, we will be helping others too. If I've learned anything about this journey of life, is that we all experience different things, we all go through different things, but some of our thoughts and feelings come down to not too many fundamental feelings that we all have. Whether we go through something in career, in relationships, in finding ourselves, I think a lot of us experience similar lessons that could help one another on their journey. And that is why I want to do this, and that is why I'm going to give this another go. I started this because I wanted to help that younger version of me. And I realised that that younger version of me was actually helping me too. As I think back to the things that I experienced, the lessons that I've learned, the knowledge that I've gained from going through those things and standing up to those things, they've helped me be where I am right now. And I think that's very important to understand too. I've recently realised that my biggest inspiration and motivation is the same person. It's that 18, 19-year-old version of me that was at the lowest point possible, but decided to show up for himself and pick himself up from rock bottom and do everything he could to make himself feel better, with the help of his loved ones, with the help of running, with the help of so many different things. But he did that. And detaching myself from that a little bit and looking at myself in that position inspires me and it motivates me to keep going. Because right now I am who I needed back then, but I also needed to be that person to become this person. You may have heard people say that you should forgive yourself for not knowing before you learnt the things only time could tell you. And that feels very fitting for this exact point, for exactly where we are right now. So that's why this is the Who We Needed podcast, because that's what we're going to be doing. Exploring the lives of people that became who they needed. And I think that can be anyone. It can be sports people, it can be content creators, it can be scientists, it can be philosophers, it can be everyone. Teachers, coaches, friends, family, it can be anyone, because we all become who we once needed. So I'm glad to be back. I'm really glad to be back. So I don't know if this is just something that people tell me about. I don't know if this is just something that I've noticed about myself, but I have learned to try to find a lesson in everything. And I don't know if this is the best thing in the world for me. I don't know if it's something that we should do or shouldn't do, because I don't analyze it too much. But a trait that I have is that I try and find a lesson in everything. And I think that is going to help me with this podcast. So luckily, I have found exactly that for this podcast. I found a lesson in me trying to do this podcast, but not fully committing to it, I guess. Now I feel some pressure to deliver some crazy lesson, but I'm just going to talk about it. Why have I never given this a go? Why have I never really tried to make this something that I do? And I thought I didn't know. I thought it just wasn't for me, but I've written a lot about it. And I think this is what I should do. I think this is what feels right to me. And I want to start with the announcement video that I made on Instagram, whether you've seen that or not. I talk about the quote that says, if you were the main character in a story about your life, a movie about your life, what would the audience be screaming at you to do as the main character? What would the audience be screaming at the screen for you to go and do with your life? And I feel like, luckily enough, I kind of have this in the comments of my videos and my DMs and the people around me, to be honest. But yeah, I think I know that the audience would be screaming at me to do this, to start the podcast. It seems like the obvious thing for me to do, but I also think that is a reason why I was putting it off so much, because I didn't want to just follow the natural path, and I got in my own head about it and overthought it. But here we are. I'm going to do the thing that the audience is screaming at me to do. I'm going to stick at this, because it's something I want to do. It's something that I've always wanted to try. Last time I don't really think I tried. I definitely made some episodes that I enjoyed. I made some episodes that had some real intention to teach people some things and try and help, but I didn't give it a full go. I kind of did it as and when, if I could be bothered to put a podcast out or if I had a wave of motivation, but that's not why I'm doing it this time. I'm doing it because it feels like my reason to do something. It feels like my why is very strong with this. So, what did I learn? What did I learn that brought me back to do this? I've certainly learned that I felt like I had to do this a certain way. I felt like, to be a podcaster, if we want to call it that, I had to have a studio, I had to have the best mics, I had to have some cool lighting and an amazing camera and all of these things. I was convincing myself that I wasn't good enough to do this. I was telling myself it's not professional enough. I was also trying to fight the fact that I didn't have to be. I was also worried about doing the same thing as everyone else, because I think we all know that there are a million podcasts out there. I think we are all very aware that there are a lot of podcasts that maybe don't need to be podcasts. And I was worried about being one of those. I still am worried about being one of those. But like I said, my why is strong. My reason to be here feels very strong. So I'm going to stick at it. I'm going to try and give it my all. And I'm going to try my best to be consistent with the thing that I want to do and not let the doubts and the worries and the overthinking stop me from getting where I want to go. Because I think we do that too often. I certainly have. But this is the year that we do the thing. I've made so many videos about that, and then I stepped back and realized that I wasn't doing it. This is my thing. When I started posting videos on Instagram and TikTok all those years ago, 3 years ago, I guess, in the back of my mind, I was like, one day I'll have a podcast. One day I'll have a mental health podcast where I have guests and I find out about their stories, what led them to where they are. But instead of doing that, I doubted myself. I told myself, why would anyone want to listen to me talk for over 5 minutes? Why would anyone care? I guess people do. And even if most people don't, my why is strong. My reason is strong. And it will find the people that it is meant to find. And I think that's a very, very, very important lesson. And the one that I've learned is that we don't have to follow anyone else's map. I read a quote once that said you cannot follow someone else's map to find yourself. And I guess part of that rings true here. We cannot copy someone else to get to where we want to go because our stories are different. And I think that's the beauty of it. When we find ourselves at the start of something, something new, something uncomfortable and different, we look for inspiration. We look elsewhere at what other people are doing. We look up to the people that we inspire to be like. And because when we take that first step, it doesn't look exactly like the other person that we look up to, we decide that it's not for us. We decide we're not very good and we doubt ourselves. But I think that's where we're going wrong from the very start. We can have inspirations. We can have people that we like and look up to. I have loads of them. And as I say that, I think I am very lucky to call a lot of them people my friends now. But that doesn't mean you have to do it like them. They didn't look at someone else and say, yeah, that's how I'm going to be. I'm going to be that person. That's how I'm going to do it. Unfortunately, the hardest part is the fact that we have to be ourselves. We have to be truly ourselves, authentic, and do it the way that we want to do it. Sometimes maybe not even the way we want to do it, just the way that feels right and natural to us in order to get to where we want to go to. We cannot follow someone else's map to find ourselves. We cannot follow someone else's map to find our success. Someone else can show us to the top of their mountain, but we won't be fulfilled because it's not ours. It's not our journey to take. We can be motivated and take inspiration from that, but real purpose, real passion is in the way we want to do the thing. So I guess the lesson is that we should do it our way. And it sounds so obvious. It sounds so simple that it might be hard to do. Because everyone else has got this blueprint laid out. This is how you should train for a marathon. This is how you should create content. This is all of these different things in different aspects of our lives. We are told to do a certain way. And that will reward us. But sometimes it won't. Sometimes we have to go out there and fail and try and try and try and try again until we find the way that it works for us. And it might be completely different to that person you look up to. Maybe it's a similar outcome, but the way you got there will be so different. And in that, it will shine through the authenticity that you have. That's where I am now. I've tried to remove, and it's a work in progress, but I've tried to remove all of those outside factors, thinking that I have to do this a certain way. Because there is no right way, there is no right time, there is just whatever we choose to do. I know it can sound very woo-woo to some people when I say that, but I really mean it. I think a huge privilege that I have in the work that I now do, being a content creator, that I have met some very, very special people. I'm probably lucky enough to call some of them friends. I definitely am lucky enough to call some of them friends. And the most special thing about those people that make real impacts, whether that is they make people laugh, whether they teach people stuff, whether they help heal people, whether they create cool things, whatever it is, all of those people are so themselves that they inspire other people to do so too. They aren't copying anyone. They're not offended by anyone trying to copy them. They don't get their back up about competition because no one can compete with them when they are just being them. And I hope to have some of them people on here. I hope to have some of those people that I look up to and call friends on this podcast, because everyone that I inspire to be like, everyone that has made me so excited to meet them, every time I come away, I don't think, wow, they had this expensive watch on. Wow, they had this cool hairstyle. Maybe I did, but I didn't look at these external things. I came away and realized that their authenticity was so true and special and powerful that it made me feel good, and it made me realize why they do what they do and have the impact they have. So that sounds like a very long-winded way of me saying that in all of this, I removed all of those things and I decided to just do this how I want to do it. And look, this office, this is my office, mine and Dave's office. It's not the perfect setup to film a podcast. My camera on a tripod that doesn't film for more than 60 minutes is not perfect for a podcast. But if I waited for perfect, I'd be 10 years down the line. I'd be 10 years behind where I am right now. I guess there's lesson 2. Don't wait for the perfect time, the perfect setup, the perfect camera, the perfect idea. I haven't even got the perfect logo for this. I don't love my own logo for this very podcast, and I'll keep messing around with it until I find something that I love, but I decided I wasn't going to wait around anymore. I wasn't going to wait around for the perfect logo to start my thing. When I had honestly thought about that, I thought, nah, I'm not going to launch the page or film the first episode until I've really made it perfect. And yeah, there are times for that, for trying to be the best. I completely understand that, but perfection paralyzes action. And it was certainly doing that for me. And I guess that's a lesson that I've learned and that I would have needed 6 months ago, a year ago, when I really wanted to do this. If I told myself to go in with no expectation, with no worry of perfection, with no worry of anyone else's opinion, then I would have started, I would have stayed consistent, and I would have done it, and I'd probably be here with another year of experience in podcasting. But that's a lesson I had to learn. I had to go through it to learn that. So, what to expect from the Who We Needed podcast. And as I said, this is no perfect job. This is not a finished article. This is not all thought out and planned out, because I'm not sort of that guy, really. I don't have a 5-year plan. I have some dreams that I want to make happen, but I don't have it all laid out. That may be a downfall of mine, but I like to feel things and do what feels right at each junction of my life. But let me tell you some of my dreams for this podcast. I want to inspire people. I want to teach people. I want to help people, of course, that were in my position once. But I also want to help people across all different walks of this life, not just ex-athletes that became content creators. I want to inspire everyone. I want to share stories from everyone. And that is why the other day, something that really got me excited about this podcast was I wrote down a list of some of my dream guests. Like I said, some of them have become my friends, which I'm very lucky to say. I thought about it. I thought about all the very different people that I follow, people that I know, people that I've heard of and watched and been inspired by. And I'd love to get them on here and talk about who they needed when they were younger. Find out their stories, find out their dreams when they were younger, their passions, find out the lessons that they learned on the way to where they are right now. That's my dream, to help as many people as I can with the help of some special guests, be that friends of mine, be that people I look up to, be that people that you look up to. I've had quite a few conversations with friends recently about their lives, their dreams. I'm lucky enough to be surrounded by people that are achieving so many great things. It makes me smile just thinking about them. And every time I talk to them, I feel inspired, I feel motivated, and I find myself asking them things that really intrigue me. Questions that make me want to understand where they are, what they do, and how they got to where they are right now. So yeah, that is what this is going to be. There will be solo episodes where I talk about the things that I'm learning. There will be episodes where I'll get Q&A questions from you and answer them about who we might have needed to help in that thing. Maybe I can research a little bit. But yeah, I also want to have guests on. So look, I know this is not the longest podcast in the world. It's not the longest podcast you've probably ever listened to. However, this is just the intro. This is the intro to who we needed. The reintroduction and the introduction to you that don't know about it. I don't have it all figured out. I used to say that all the time, and I certainly don't have anything more figured out than I used to. But I have a dream, I have a why, and I have a hope that I can make all of those things come true. So this is just the first step. It's not perfect. There's probably going to be things when I'm editing this video and this podcast for you that do annoy me. But it doesn't matter. I'm going to put it out into the world anyway. I'm going to keep learning and keep getting better. So thank you very much for being here. Thank you for coming along to watch this podcast. I hope you took something from the very short podcast and some of the lessons that I shared there. And even if you just learned a little bit more about me, then I appreciate you for being here. Let's see where this goes. I'm excited. I live a very exciting life at the moment, a life that feels like a movie every single day. It really does. And I don't know how I got here, but I'm really excited about this. I'm really excited about this podcast and the difference that I hope to make. So this has been Who We Needed by me, Harrison Davis. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for being here.